Bullshit.
Pretend for a moment we've entered a parallel universe, free of bullshit and full of bold solutions. That's what the No BS Marketing Show is all about. I'm your host, Dave Mastovich. Hey, No BSers. Dave here. I want to go back in time because we've had such a great 2-year run, and there's all kinds of stuff from the early days on the No BS Marketing Show that I think is valuable to you, and that to have you hear it again, if you heard it back then, as a refresher, and if you didn't get it, if you're a new fan, to hear it now. So I'm going back in time today with 3 or 4 really critical guests, including Mark Marmo, the president and CEO of Deep Well Services. And I'm going to take you right to the question, his answer to this question, which was, when have you seen BS in the workplace?
I think the biggest example is just recently. The commodity markets, oil and gas, are down over 50%, especially on the oil side of things. We value our company safety. It's a safety first, one team, one family. That's our passion at this company. We do not see that with some of the customers that we have. You'll walk into their office, they'll have all the signs everywhere, safety first, we live safety, we're this, we're that, safety-wise. The first thing you sit down at the table, they want to talk, what price can you give me? They don't want to talk about, hey, how safely or what value do you bring safety? What kind of culture do you bring to our business or our company? It's hey, give us a price cut. That has been the biggest bullshit comments, experience, example that I've lived through, and it's really been in the last year. When I worked at Talisman, I coming up through Maxim, coming up through the financial side of things, and working on the in the operational side, you always thought safety was really all it is it's just being politically correct. It's just money spent on something. When I went to Talisman, they made us all sit through a class. It was called Behavioral Based Safety, BBS, 2-day class. And it's really then when I woke up to how important safety was in the workplace and how important safety is in general in your life. Would you leave a ladder standing as you walked out into your garage in the way of the door? Of course not. That's behavioral based safety. You're going to move that. You're going to keep your area clean. You're going to keep it organized. And it's really when I woke up to how important safety was. It was. I can remember the day and where I was sitting in that office and how it hit me. And from that point on, it's just the BBS has been the way. When I'm working out in my yard, I think through things, what could go wrong here, and then we try to instill that in our culture here at Deep Well Services. We have BBS training. We live BBS every day, and that's really when I woke up.
That's Mark Marmo, President and CEO of Deep Well Services. He and his leadership team have oversaw a huge growth, almost a 10x growth in about a 4 or 5 year period at Deep Well Services. And Mark also has something really critical, and that's self-awareness. He's able to take a look at when he could have done better. And he mentions when he was a BSer when he was on the show. Had the chance to hear from Ed Wheatholder of Strength, Fitness, and Speed. Ed's a guy who is living his passion and his dreams. Started it when most people weren't doing this stuff. Now it's all in vogue, but Ed has been 10 years ahead of the game. And let's cut right to a couple of segments from Ed Wheatholder of Strength, Fitness, and Speed on the No BS Marketing Show. Ed, we've all seen it. I jokingly say smelled it. Bullshit in the workplace. Give us an example from the past when you just had to say that's BS. It could be a company culture, questionable leadership, poor work ethic, anything you noticed at a time in your past when you just had to say that's BS.
Sure. I'll go back Now, Dave, does this necessarily have to be my company, or could it be a different company?
Could be any company,
Okay.
anywhere you've worked. It doesn't even have to be a company you're working at. It could be a vendor for you as a company.
I can think of one. It's several years ago, many years ago. Certain jobs were on the line, and certain management positions specifically were online. And I was not in management. I was an underling, and suddenly tasks that we would do daily with a lot of success, did our jobs well. Suddenly, they weren't adequate anymore. We were, really, really being over scrutinized. And at the time, I was young, and I didn't realize that we were kind of getting thrown under the bus to save jobs, to save management's jobs. So that was kind of my, welcome to the real world moment. I was a young guy, and wiser the better. We survived.
How did you cope with that? Did they keep select few of you that had to do more work, or did you eventually get let go?
They kept a select few of us, and it was just a little glimpse into real world. Covering your butt at times when you needed to.
And the leaders weren't transparent about it.
Not at all. That's when I first learned how you might win the Survivor show. That was my first glimpse into. They had their jobs to protect too, but it was hard as a young person to understand. Like, they're going to make me look bad. Like, I didn't get that. That was a real eye opener for me.
Because is what it is. Are you using Audible yet? If not, you can get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/nobs. Try a book like Amaze Every Customer Every Time, 52 Tools for Delivering the Most Amazing Customer Service on the Planet by a past No BS marketing guest, Shep Hyken. You can download it for free today. Go to audibletrial.com/nobs for your free audiobook. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Another true no BSer and a leader is Dave Sweet, the president of Mecco Marking and Traceability. Dave was a great guest and gave nuggets of information that were really jewels or like he was raining threes in an NBA game. These were key information, key insights that I think can help anybody. Here's Dave Sweet of Mecco Marking and Traceability. Well, this show's about leadership and communication. You actually unscripted tied back to the rant where we immediately think, what if it doesn't work? So you walked through how you actually called yourself a BSer and had to work through that head trash and figure out how to, what if it does work? And you made a great move and it's led to success. What about when you've seen BS in the workplace outside of you? You've already talked about your instance and how you learned from it and became stronger. What about BS in the workplace, an instance where it could be corporate culture, questionable leadership, bad customer service, when you just had to think, boy, that's BS?
Yeah, I think when I took over Mecco back in 2008, it was a real transition period for the company. We were a long-standing company, but we started to, I think, lose our way. I think we were kind of dealing with, who are we as a company? And, when I took over, it was, I was 32. I think a lot of the people at the company had been there actually longer than I was alive. And so when I got there, I think a lot of that turnaround of really making Mecco a real team and pushing forward, I observed a lot of the BS of that's not the way we do things here. Or we've been doing that for years, or you can't do that. And there's nothing that frustrates me more when someone just says flat out, we can't do that, where they haven't even spent a second thinking about how we can do those things. So a lot of the work that I did initially was saying, we can, why not us? We are capable of doing this. Let's make a change. We don't have to beat our head against the wall and think of ourselves in such a, I think in a small way. Mecco's always been a small company. I think big. I want Mecco to be a big company, but with with small values, or small company values. So I think the things that I would encounter is just a lot of resistance to change naturally, but just I think a lot of folks having a limited view of their actual potential. And I think that's where when I hear people say, "Oh, we can't do that," as their knee-jerk reaction, that's bothersome to me.
It's always special and fun to hear from Mike Gaddy, the first ever Mass Solutions employee who's been with us since day one. And he and I had a blast on the show. But listen to the key insights that Mike Gaddy brings about marketing intel when he was a guest on the No BS Marketing Show. I'm Dave Mastovich. That's Mike Gaddy, first ever employee, key team player at Mass Solutions. And we're talking about mystery shops. And since we usually go into the BS segment, let's just talk about how there is some BS with it. The first is when we go through all the stuff Mike just said about recruiting people, telling them the process, training, getting it all done. What ends up happening is you go to a client, you tell them what it's going to cost, and they think that it should be like $10.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the issue too, is that we're not we do mystery shopping. We're not a shop boutique, or I call it a shop chop shop. But I think that it's one of those things that needs to be done because it gives you actual marketing intel from the field. So you're actually seeing what the customers see, hearing what the customers see, or hear, not see. But it's one of those things that is, you have to take it with a grain of salt too, because shoppers are going to screw up, or it's not going to go perfect, but you're still getting valuable information that you can basically get from nowhere else.
And another part of the BS with shops is you have to have a leader. Like a couple of our clients, there's really strong leadership, and they say to the marketing team or the sales team, mostly the sales team, this is the reality, what perception's reality, whatever that shopper thinks. You need that because you and I have had battles over the years where salespeople came back and wanted to argue about what the shopper rated them.
Yeah. I hate scoring shops even. Everyone wants it because you want to quantify the process, or quantify and say an 88 is better than a 50. Well, yeah, but I hate even scoring shops. I think that you should just take the information as is and take it as a qualitative set of information, and then have an open discussion with your team about those results, and say, look, here's where we're lacking, and strictly in an anecdotal type of manner, as opposed to saying like, well, you got an 88, because then immediately, hey, I'm not blaming the salespeople. If you're a good salesperson and you get an 88, you want to get 100.
If you get a 65, you're ready to fist fight. Yeah.
So you're going to go through it with a fine-tooth comb and say, oh, well, wait, this one is kind of maybe could be a yes instead of a no, or an NA, a not applicable. So then that takes my total score down, and it bumps my percentage up 3 points. So I think that the whole shopping industry has never really done a well enough job educating the public on what shopping is. Like Dateline or 2020, whatever. One of those shows, did a thing on mystery shopping about like, oh, go get free McDonald's and be a mystery shopper. And so now that's what everyone thinks it is. And it's absolutely, that's a part of it. Retail is a part of mystery shopping that's easy to kind of replicate, but I think a lot of it is just BS. Bullshit. Yes, that.
There you have it, folks. A look back with 4 terrific guests of the No BS Marketing Show from the early days, episodes 1 through 50. Those first 50 episodes, we had Mark Marmo of Deep Well Services, Ed Weedholder of Strength, Fitness, and Speed, Dave Sweet of Mecco Marketing and Traceability, and the notorious Mike Gaddy of Mass Solutions. All 4 of them brought wisdom that I think is valuable to our listeners. For those loyal people who've been with us from day one, you might have heard this before, and now it was like a nice little refresher and reminder. For our new and growing fan base, as we're up to episode 172, you might not have had a chance to look back at all these episodes, so you got some pearls of wisdom from some true leaders. Thanks for listening to the No BS Marketing Show. Give us your feedback, constructive, positive, whatever. We appreciate it. We appreciate the reviews on iTunes and any other outlet. We appreciate the comments about how we can get better and on particular guests you think we need to add to the stable of no BSers. Also, have you signed up for Light Reading? Go to masssolutions.biz and sign up for the No BS email newsletter. It comes up each week. It summarizes what's happened, and it is truly light reading in that you can pound that out in 2 minutes or less, and it just might trigger bright ideas for you. Remember, ask yourself, what's the big idea? And build your story around the answer. It's all about bold solutions, no BS.